Over to you, Michael.
Great. Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you for taking the time to join the Mirriad Advertising webinar today. On the call, we have CEO Stephan Beringer. We also have CFO David Dorans. And for advisor to the company, we have Ryan Mendy, also founder of Lansdowne Partners. Stephen, if you could take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And thank you very much for joining today's webinar, which is about Mirriad. So we have a very straightforward agenda, do a quick introduction to the company, where we're based, where we're coming from, and then take you through more of the details in terms of what the platform and technology actually does, how we have progressed as a company and business, the impact we're actually making in the industry. Then David will be talking about the financials. We've just announced or released our first half results a couple of days ago, and then I will come back and speak about what can be expected in terms of what we are aiming for in the remainder of the year and moving forward. And I think, Michael, we're doing Q&A at the very end, right? And we'll collect the questions as they come into the Q&A box in Zoom. So let's start real quick and give a little bit of a context in terms of where to see where the company is actually coming from. And as a matter of fact, Mirriad is approximately, in different iterations, but 8 years old, and really started as a company that delivered visual effects for top-notch, first-class Hollywood and other feature film productions. And it got to very big fame for a movie called The Black Swan, where one of the final effects, which was about Natalie Portman dancing and basically developing these amazing wings. And in the next video, you'll see a little snippet of it. Won an Academy Award for that. And basically the ability to really render an image into an already existing video is really what sort of the magic of Mirriad consists of. And that ability was taken further to make it available to advertisers. In other words, to allow, and again, you will see many examples today, to allow advertisers to place their products, their brand or signage, posters, advertising into already existing content in television, films, etc., etc. Again, after the program has been produced, and that's sort of the big revolutionary step here. We are based in the UK, listed on AIM. We have offices in Shanghai. We have one in Mumbai, which we're not mentioning here because that's our service center, in London, of course, and in New York, where we're servicing North America. So without further ado, we'll now play a short video, which will give you hopefully a good idea in terms of what we actually do, what the magic is in terms of what we can bring to the market, and how we've evolved, especially since last year, where we did a major, how can I say, boost forward, taking the company to the next level.
We do something quite magical. Mirriad was born as a visual effects technology company delivering award-winning solutions for feature films, essentially allowing to seamlessly insert any kind of image into the footage after production.
Elle est anglaise, elle s'appelle Mirriad et elle réinvente de manière plutôt troublante le placement de produits.
So the the opportunity to ultimately place objects and branding into scenes and with variations depending on the audience who's watching it, and is a totally new opportunity.
A company that's used AI to put ads in the footage that we're already watching.
I thought this one was quite an interesting observation here by the AI, which is in the background. It's actually a relatively sort of obvious place to put something, but you might not as a human have necessarily said, oh, you know, let's place this in the background and cover that window.
All right, so let's talk about the platform, the progress and impact. So trying to keep this in a very simple level to make it quick. So how the platform works is actually that we ingest a finished film or video content from a partner, and the partner could be a broadcasting company or a video platform, a streaming company, VOD. It doesn't really matter because we are totally format agnostic. And so a partner clears the rights and says, yeah, I want to have advertising or products digitally placed in my content. And then basically we ingest that video footage or the film footage from the partner. And then the way I'd like to describe this is that we have two layers of intelligence running over that content. Number one, or the first layer, is really the identification of physical placement opportunities. So it's literally our software that identifies, and you see that, by the way, on that little image on the top right-hand side where you see the bluish thing, the blue box. And that's literally the software identifying the physical placement opportunity. Yes, here's a free wall, here's a free table, here we can place something. And the second layer now really adds the contextual intelligence and refines these first findings in terms of the physical placement opportunity towards a precision for brands. In other words, it will look after the context, right? What kind of scene, what kind of ambience, etc. It will look after the emotions. Is this a happy scene, a dramatic scene, romantic scene, and so forth. It will even look, and that's a very new thing we have, it will even look into the attention in terms of understanding where at a very high level of accuracy, where the attention of the viewers will land, right? Literally the eyeballs. And once we have the entire analysis, we are basically able, or the system is able, to break down the placement opportunities, making them available to the partners, who then will go to the different clients they have. So they would go to P&G, they would go to Toyota, etc. You get the point that basically the clustering that we provide is already industry, it's formed for the industries that are supposed to buy them, because the system says, yeah, this is good for alcoholics and this is good for baby food. I'm just saying. So and then on the back of that, the partner does the sell to the advertiser, to the P&Gs and Toyotas of the world, comes back to us, and basically then with the insertion order, and we do the placement, and then we ship back the content to the partner. So that's in a nutshell how the system works. There's one very interesting finesse in here in terms of the versioning capability. In other words, we're able to create different versions of a same scene, and which is a very, very relevant aspect, because as you will imagine, moving forward, the requirement will be to play out different, embeds of a brand to different audiences, right? Or different geos. And that is obviously a capability that is extremely compelling, and that we'll start introducing this year with one of our partners already. So moving on from there, the solution really comes at a time for the industry where there are pretty big issues in terms of, or challenges in terms of, the effectiveness and the efficacy of the traditional means of advertising. And starting with really the core problem or the core issue is really the viewer. And you might have experienced all this yourselves in terms of being interrupted by advertising or having to wait after the pre-roll, etc. And we tend to say that the skip ad button is probably the most utilized feature in the digital space. And that really describes the fact that people very much, or actually don't really like to watch ads anymore. And it's not about the ads. They like ads, but they don't like to be interrupted by them. On the flip side now, this represents a big issue for advertisers and their agencies, because the traditional means of reaching people and engaging with people is kind of running out of steam. And so new solutions are really needed. And this is where we come, again, with an experience, and hopefully you've appreciated that, where we place the brand, the product into the content in a way that it enhances the experience. And so by doing so, there's no need to skip the ad anymore, because actually we're enhancing the content, which allows the advertisers to really reach audiences in very passionate moments. Flipping the coin again and looking at the content industry, what we actually provide is a net new revenue stream, because the investment in the content has already been made. We know that in subscription streaming, there is no ad revenue per definition. So in that model, we actually provide a net new revenue opportunity, but we also provide revenue opportunities in models where there is maybe some advertising, but the ad loads are taken down. So basically, we're really adding something to the bottom line here. Just some facts in terms of how we see the situation in terms of the traditional advertising market for television and video really being in a very challenging period. And these are just some facts, and there's many of them that we could bring forward, but generally speaking, just confirming what I've said before, that people just don't want to be interrupted by ads. They find them extremely annoying. They skip them. They wouldn't pay attention anyway. You know all this. We sit in front of TVs and basically watch our phones and stuff. And especially in the period of pandemic, there's been, and we believe there's no point of return here in terms of people just going more and more into the streaming services. So sessions and minutes have gone dramatically up. On the right-hand side, you see a number here in terms of the decrease of the commercial impact of television advertising in the age group of 16 to 24. This is a research from the UK, where Ubiquity, leading media audit company, is predicting that between the year 2018 and 22, the commercial impact will have decreased by 55%, which is obviously a very dramatic number, and an expression of the issue that for an advertiser who needs to engage with young audiences, because young audiences are the ones who build brands, it has become very, very difficult to do this through the traditional means. And here again, here we come, because we can place the brand in the content at the highest moment of how can I say, engagement and passion. And by doing so, as you will see later, we are really able to drive astounding results. So as a consequence, we should say, in terms of the pressure that is on the entire ecosystem, we've really made enormous progress and enormous strides now into the entire marketplace. And when we talk marketplace, we need to really look at two sides that we need to engage with, because we're pioneers in this market, and we need to really create the market. And so we've moved at light speed, although it is actually a marathon, but we're running it at speed of light. Basically now engaged with the majority of the top 100 global advertisers. So we're talking about the big brands who are engaging with us. And with most of them, we're actually beyond this point of explaining the theoretical possibility of using the technology. This is really very specific now, with clients asking us how we can help them sell more products in the holiday season, or how we can help them launch a new car. It's more, it's very, it's very concrete questions and RFPs that are on our table today. And that is actually really important, because we need to have the backing of the advertisers market and the agencies to have, constructive discussions with the supply partners, in other words, with the entertainment companies, the broadcasters, the publishers, because on their end, obviously, they need to see, as they consider using our technology, they need to see that there's a real market, there's real demand behind that, because otherwise, there's no urgency to actually do that. And so now we are really bringing the interest of the advertisers who are, saying, yeah, we're ready to book. We're very interested in running campaigns, and that changes the conversation. And so now that explains also why we've made so much progress since a couple of months or 1 year maybe, and really engaging with the majority of the key players in the market, including most of the major entertainment companies in the United States. And what has happened very recently, or since a few months now, is that there's other areas of content that are opening up. There's independent film producers, but especially also in the area of music and the music industry in general, that has, through the pandemic, has gone into a big struggle in terms of losing one major revenue opportunity, which is live concerts, playing live gigs. And so looking at us as an opportunity to actually place, brands and messaging and so forth, branding into music videos, into social posts, etc., and really helping mitigate this issue of one revenue pillar falling away. So eventually we are replacing that. So speaking with and working with the major record companies and major artist management companies to really develop that marketplace, which is extremely compelling and interesting for us, especially when we consider the young audiences, the young age groups, that in the traditional side, you've just seen the numbers one slide before, are very hard to reach. But certainly we do know that through music and social and influencer, there's enormous potential to really engage with them. Sorry, I was too fast here. So on that note then, just for you to get a sense of how things develop once we partner with a big company and our platform starts to really deliver against the demand. Here is the example from China. In China, we're partnering with Tencent Video. Think of Tencent Video as being the equivalent of Netflix and more. And basically, we have a standing contract with Tencent. Their teams now really got behind the solution. It's integrated in the overall stack of Tencent. It's being connected now also from a data standpoint in terms of the viewers eventually being retargeted through other means. So very sophisticated and advanced solution. And in June was the first month where we really started reaching this very high level of scale, in this case now running 40 campaigns or more than 40 campaigns in 1 month, which for us was extremely important to see that actually our platform can handle the load, and it can handle it without flaws, and delivering amazing execution. So I hope you appreciate that as you see it now in a few seconds, and all this without us having to augment human resources to handle the load. So let me just play this video to you. Okay. So, oops. So let's talk a little bit about the impact that we're generating in the market. This is for us very interesting to see that we're getting more and more pickup in terms of the press, the media, the public opinion, taking more than notice of Mirriad and really putting us into this category of new AI-powered solutions and looking at Mirriad as really a strong contender in terms of the next generation advertising powered by AI. We're winning many awards, but let's move on from there, because what is really the most critical thing is that we are delivering results to advertisers who book campaigns using the Mirriad technology in the content of partners. So when you look at these two examples, one being T-Mobile in the US, the other one C-Trip in China, but we have many more examples that ultimately deliver exactly the same message, which is that adding Mirriad, but also using Mirriad in a solitary fashion, but adding Mirriad to existing campaigns or using it on a standalone is able to really drive brand awareness and brand consideration, advertising awareness up by double-digit points. And these are results that are really, really very impressive when you consider that the investments, especially when you look at these campaigns where we are combined with, let's just say, television campaigns, the share of the spend that is put into the Mirriad campaign is proportionally very little. So driving these amazing exponential results is really a proof that the solution that we have here is more than a serious contender for the next era of advertising. We definitely are part of that future stack. Here's another amazing piece of research where we're actually proving that, and this is from a campaign in the US, again, very limited amount, or proportionally speaking, limited amount of invest in the Mirriad campaign, but where we're able to augment the group of high frequency consumers that, just those, as they watch television commercials, they represent 40% of the audience, and suddenly you add the turbocharger called Mirriad, and suddenly you're up to 69%, which in value translates in terms of really an uplift of 19 percentage points, which is incredible numbers. I mean, they are really absolutely astounding. And by the way, just for the avoidance of any doubts, this is not us making some handmade research. This is Kantar being commissioned by our partner. So this is proper research with really relevant panels and so forth. So these numbers are bulletproof. David, if I may hand over to you now to talk a little bit about how, just from a numbers perspective, how we look at the results H1, which are obviously also derived from the many changes that we've made last year. And I'll click for you.
Thank you very much, Stephan. Hello, everybody. I'll go through these fairly fast, but it's worth saying that the full release with a little more detail on the numbers is on our corporate website, which is mirriadplc.com. So if anyone wants to follow up on anything, please go and have a look at them there. We're really pleased that we can report a very positive set of results for the first half of the year, particularly given the market conditions. On this slide, we've summarized all the key financial metrics. And you'll see that there has been a significant improvement in all of the metrics year on year. These numbers are in sterling, by the way, just for so you understand that. So starting on the left-hand side with the P&L metrics, our revenues are up 109% year on year for the first half. Operating loss and loss for the period both down by 32%, and that is a result of partly the increase in revenues and partly a reduction in the underlying cost base. And I'll come on to that in a minute. Looking onto the right-hand side of the chart, our cash consumption is down a quarter, almost a quarter year on year, minus 24%. Mirriad has very simple financial balance sheet, and it's dominated by cash holding. So we raised additional public funds in the UK market in the summer of 2019. So our balance sheet is basically dominated by our cash holding and has improved significantly year on year. And the very last chart on that page, bottom right-hand corner, is the loss per share, which shows a sharp improvement as a result of the improved operating metrics over the period. Just turning onto the next page, I set out here a reconciliation of the movement in the administrative costs line. So as a business, we undertook a strategic reset in 2019. And as part of that strategic reset, we significantly simplified the business. And the objective there was to create more focus. A secondary objective was to reduce costs. And the results of that restructuring and strategic reset are now starting to show through in our financials. So our administrative costs line shows a £1.8 million reduction year on year. And I think the chart very clearly shows that that reduction is being driven by an improvement in staff-related costs. And that is directly attributable to the restructuring that we undertook. So staff-related costs are down by £874,000 year on year. Just moving on to the final slide in terms of finances. Many of you probably aren't familiar with the business and its financial makeup, but it's a very, very simple business, nothing exotic in it. So I've shown two financial bridges here, the top one being the EBITDA bridge. Very few adjusting items on EBITDA. We have a small amount of depreciation and amortization and a small amount of share-based compensation charge. We issued new share options to senior management and some directors in the first half of 2020. So that charge is starting to come through. And on the bottom chart, very few adjusting items in terms of cash, only a small adjustment for leases, which are now capitalized. So pretty much straightforward, a debt-free balance sheet. And as I said, if you want to see more details on that, then please go and have a look at the fuller data, which is on mirriadplc.com. Right.
All right. Thank you, David. So a couple of more slides to go and things to talk about. So looking at the remainder of the year and our ambitious and our objectives for the year. So clearly, we will, and we are developing further our footprint in terms of signing up tier 1 partner companies, which is really the focus in the US. That as I mentioned earlier, we are in discussions with the majority of the major entertainment companies, and we are very far down the line now, very, very far down the line, partly already in red line stage in terms of contractual, well, the negotiation actually happens. So now we're really working on the details. So we're feeling very good that, you know, in due course, we will be able to announce something. And we believe that on the basis of the fact that you know, the how can I say, the industry is so competitive that as we start signing one partner, then eventually through a domino effect, others will just follow. And so the conversations we are in anyway will be accelerated. And so this plus the fact that we already have, how many partners, David? I think 16 or 17 across the globe. Anyway, plus everything in music, that we really have already a very good bulk of inventory that we can create campaigns with for the advertisers. So the adoption through the advertisers is obviously something that continues, but it will take a boost once we start signing up the major players in the US, because the scale of what we have to offer will just exponentially grow. But at the same time, we should not forget this new area in contrary, because we're really taking this to a next level as well. I've spoken about music. It is an absolutely interesting and massive opportunity. I mean, just again, coming back to these younger audiences, when we compare the views and impressions that can be generated with music, which go into the billions, compared to, you know, the best ever running whatever television series or movie, then you know, that puts things into perspective in terms of how powerful music is. And we believe we have a really strong opportunity and great opportunity here. It's just also reflected by the fact that, you know, the stakeholders in the industry are so open and so willing to work with us, and basically saying, yeah, we want to partner here, because there is an urgency to do something from their end, and we're seeing the great response from the advertisers. So this looks like really a sweet spot now, and we'll be announcing something quite very soon. The one thing I'd like to add in the context of music is really that in the model where we are in the entertainment lane with the big partners, the transaction as such is really done between a partner and the advertiser, and we get a piece of the revenue as in form of a revenue share. And in the area of music, it is actually the exact opposite, where we are making the sell to the advertiser and then sharing the revenue with the content owner. And that normally gives us you know, a certain degree of flexibility in terms of setting the pricing, setting the margins, etc., which eventually will be of a good advantage for us. So we're really entering that phase now and speaking with the agencies about how to construct that. The third point I'd like to make, and we have a video which comes next that will give you a sense of where we're going with music. But the thing to mention, or not to forget, is of course how we are investing in the technology and the things we're working on. So the further development of the algorithms and the models in terms of overall, if we call it the AI, is a continuum. So the ambition, of course, is to get to higher precision, to get to ever greater automation, and have the entire process really running through end to end in an automated fashion. That's clear. The second one is more on an integration side to enable what I touched on earlier, especially in the context of China, but it's not only for China, of course, to enable these addressable solutions. In other words, allowing to deliver different versions to different audiences, or wherever somebody's calling from a different geography and so forth. You get the point. The third lane that is really game-changing nature also is the development of the real-time capability, in terms of us having the ability to ingest a real-time or a live stream, and analyze that in real time, do the placement in real time, and push it back live with very little latency. So this is something we're working on now, and you know, we'll be coming up with something quite soon. And that is a ultimate game changer when you think about, you know, sports live events, when you think about live shows, when you think about where music is going, for instance, in the future, in terms of live performances that are being streamed. So giving the opportunity to actually do something live is enormously important. The other aspect, and it's almost a collateral benefit of that endeavor, is that once we have the real-time you know, the full end-to-end real-time enablement, it will also allow us to integrate into programmatic environments and basically facilitate real-time or exchange bidding and buying in real time, and then the rendering and the delivery in real time. Sorry, I was too fast. So what you'll see now, as I've introduced a few seconds ago, is a video that explains or captures our proposition in the area of music. And literally, this is, as we speak these days, this is exactly how we're taking it to the market, taking it to the agencies, to the advertisers, how we're speaking about it as we negotiate with the industry. And you will see that our approach is not a artist endorsement approach, but it's a music genre, it's a channel approach. So we're really looking at this endeavor, you know, as a next generation thing, where we propose a media product, a media solution, rather than, you know, a traditional placement or artist endorsement solution. So without further ado, let's play this video. Okay. Oops, sorry. So the last slide is one, Ryan, you and I will share in terms of talking about something that we opened last week, right? I'll just give the context. So since a year approximately, we've just received more and more interest from international investors who said, you know, we believe in the Mirriad ambition and the strategy. This is a solution that is really needed for the industry. Totally excited, very excited. We would love to invest, but investing in Mirriad is a bit difficult because there's a lot of paperwork involved. You are listed on AIM. And so that for us was the challenge to make a move. And then, Ryan, I'll just hand over to you. Maybe you can quickly explain what we've done.
Yeah, certainly. So look, we just started on trading on the OTC market in the US. Of course, this is like the trading home to the likes of you know, Adidas, BASF, Imperial Brands, big pharma companies like Roche. So if it's good for them, surely it's good for us. But what does this mean? The dual listing from the London AIM market onto the cross listing onto the New York market. The dual listing effectively means three things. And one means every broker dealer in the US, and forgive me, some of you on the here will know this as well, but every broker dealer in the US and global investors from Europe and Asia will now be able to trade Mirriad stock. And they've been able to do that since the 9th of September. So that's great. Secondly, for the first time, you can now officially read research, which is great, and especially from Edison. So thank you, Edison, for setting this up. So if you haven't got a copy, jump on the OTC website, or I'll give Michael a call and he'll furnish you with that. But thirdly, I think, you know, the bottom line is this is great for shareholders, as it boosts liquidity and therefore confidence in holding the Mirriad stock itself. And in 30 days' time, you're going to see a truck of other market makers coming in to support Canaccord and Genuity, our broker, who are the official market maker right now. So it's looking great. It's exciting. Mirriad's coming to America. Its business model is protected in all target major markets. It's massively scalable. And this is ultimately the next phase of the growth journey that started in London.
Thank you, Ryan. I move to the very last slide, which is called Q&A. And so, Michael, I guess, right, the lines are open in terms of the Q&A bubble I see up here, and I'll just open that in case we have any questions we can answer.
Correct. And also you can type your question if you like to as well. Okay. We'll wait a couple more minutes regarding questions.
Did we miss anything, Michael, from your perspective? Any question you might want to ask in between?
No, I think we addressed several of the issues on the call. I don't see any questions that need to be asked right now, unless any of you thought that you might have missed something.
Yeah, maybe the one thing, David, what we did not elaborate on is money in the standard model. You have to go off mute, please, and the gross margins that we are aiming for.
Can you just say that again, because I didn't hear the first part of your question? Sorry.
Yeah, it's the commercial model, how we make money, to put it bluntly.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, okay.
And the gross margins. Okay, so a standard commercial model is a revenue share with our partners. So in this case, our partners would be whoever was distributing the content. So Tencent in China or Univision in the US. We would take a revenue share that varies by partner, somewhere between 20 and 35% of the revenue that they generate. So that's where the money comes from. In terms of gross margins, our cost of sale is a mix of the technology that we've developed and some people input, and those people are mainly in India, as Stephan's mentioned, in Mumbai. So it's a very cost-effective place for us to locate staff. We're working towards a gross margin of around 75%, and we anticipate that over time that would improve with investment into technology, so that more of that process is automated and less of it has any human interaction.
Thanks, David. Wow, serendipity. So here's a question in the chat saying, has everyone been happy with your revenue model? I'll take that one, David. I don't know if everybody was happy with the model before I joined, so I can only speak for the time since post 2018. But in general terms, I think we've never encountered any issues with the revenue model and the principle. And I guess it goes back to what I said at the very beginning, in terms of we are able to create revenue, or we create inventory that can be sold where there was no inventory before. So we are in a very strong position, as such as you do need Mirriad to actually even create that value. But on top of the tech comes also, I think, what I touched on during the presentation, which is the ability to mobilize the market and actually generate demand, and then to funnel the demand appropriately. So, so I think, David, I assume you don't contradict me, but basically the revenue model as such has never been questioned.
No, I mean, it's fair to say we have a a flexible approach to contracting with people. So we'll listen if they have alternative approaches. But one of the reasons for going down a revenue share model is that it allows us to share in the upside as the business scales, which is quite important.
Yeah, good point. Next question: are you considering M&A? What would you like to add? So I obviously need to be a bit careful in answering this question, not to disclose too much. Let me just play through something and eventually not give hints, but let me just explain something. So the way we work and how we envision our business in the future is that on the one side, we have this bulk of how can I say, of available content that we extract from, or we ingest and create the inventory from. And so the one thing is really building the partnerships and cutting deals with big entertainment companies, music record company, and so forth. So now it comes into our system, and we're running the platform in the cloud, so we don't need to invest anything there other than using Amazon or wherever we're using. And basically within that, I like to talk about three elements. One being the experience technology, which at the very core we actually have, because that's what was invented many, many years ago, which is this whole capability of rendering and so forth. And of course, there's some additional finessing. So there's really no major need to do anything there. Then there's the experience data, which we generate out of the content that we analyze, and we develop algorithms and create models and so forth. And actually there's not much that needs to be done there. And the algorithms, in terms of the how can I say, the models and the algorithms are things that we program as well. The data are pretty much available in the market, so I don't see a major need there. So now we have extracted everything. We have the ability to make embeds, and then third element, bulk, to look at is really how we take that to the market. And this is where eventually, to now finally answer your question, there might be some interesting aspects that we will be considering in terms of, yeah, is there a platform that allows, for instance, automating the transaction with music artists and automating that process? You know, are there companies that eventually could help us boost sales and help optimize, how can I say, the trading capabilities? So there are a couple of areas that are definitely interesting. But in general terms, you know, we cannot really talk about that too much. But at the very core, we actually have very strong coverage in terms of, you know, the technology itself that obviously needs to remain with us. But yeah, I'm not giving you a no, but also not a specific yes. Next question is about the potential size of the market, say 5 years down the line. The way I look at this, and this is the reason why I joined coming from a major advertising group, is that here's a true potential of creating a new paradigm or paradigm changing advertising proposition. I've been around a few years, seen search transforming the advertising market, then social transforming the advertising market again. Then we've seen commerce, which for different reasons has changed the dynamics in marketing and advertising. We'll have to see what connected devices are able to make, just thinking of Alexa and Google Home and how that's influencing engagement possibilities between brands and customers or consumers. And I believe that actually in content and contextual is really the new big opportunity. And when we consider, okay, the canvas is enormous. It's like, it's television, it's film, it's streaming, like recorded entertainment, it's live entertainment, it's sports, it's social. We will be talking about gaming, etc. So this is a very big territory. We can't grab it all, and we can't grab it all immediately, but over time we'll try to get there. Now, all that being said, I'm coming to the answer. Currently, especially now, I'm looking at the US, the investment in video and television advertising, the numbers are probably somewhere around 70 and 80 billion dollars, and you know, we would like to take a nice share of that investment, because as you've seen in the numbers, we are actually able to really deliver an impact or results that are, you know, undeniably extremely strong. I will stay away from saying, yeah, much better and these foolish things, but we are definitely a great solution. So there's all reason to be very positive about you know, the opportunity come down, you know, as we think down the line 5 years, to have a significant part of that, or I'm not saying lion's share, but a significant part of that big pie. And then we'll see. Yeah, but that is definitely what we're aiming for.
Hi, Stephan. John here. So we've had a question that's been entered to the chat rather than the Q&A, and it's from Mark. And it says, what are the key risks to executing your strategy?
So we have a risk register, right, David, which I'll hand over to you in a second. The key risk, it's a great question. So far, the biggest risk we've had was kind of the biggest obstacle was the way major partner companies operate in terms of the time it takes to get, you know, to a contract stage, and that is certainly one thing that, you know, it just takes time. So time is one factor, but, you know, you could say that's not really a risk. That's an inherent factor when you're developing a new market. risk as such, you know, clearly also, but it's in the same vein, is the pandemic. You know, will we have second, third waves? What will happen there? So I'd see a risk there too. But again, it's more a risk in terms of time, because I don't think that the fundamentals that are pointing our way are really touched by that by any means. I think Ryan touched on it a little bit in terms of the protection that we have. We'll not elaborate on that today too much, but we do have a lot of patents that are protecting us. So it will be difficult for a new entrant to come in. But even if somebody came in, it actually wouldn't be bad for us, I think, because ultimately it would invigorate the marketplace. But I'm not expecting that at the moment. So David, maybe you can give better answers than I do.
I think your answers are good from a business perspective. It's probably worth saying that in our full annual report, which is also available on our website, I sound like I'm advertising our own website, which is mirriadplc.com. We have to, under UK listing rules, we have to set out a risk analysis. So what we've done is we've analysed all the potential risks facing the business and said, you know, how do we mitigate against those? So Stephan's touched on some of them, and then we look at things like, you know, competitor risk. We look at things like ability to attract and retain our staff, because obviously we create all of our own technology. So it's important to us that we've got a supply of highly qualified staff who can work for us. We talk about the fact that, you know, we're dependent on our partners to actually sell in many cases, but we're mitigating that actually in new parts of our business by contracting directly with those people that own the content. And then we talk about things like, you know, the supply of content, which again, we are mitigating by dealing directly with producers, as Stephan's mentioned. So if you want to look at the risks that we set out, they're there in the materials available.
Stephan, just one more question from the Edison side. Could you discuss the music model and why you think that adds so much potential value and how it's different to the TV and film model?
Yeah, it is. So it is not really, I mean, the basic logic is not really different. So if you play it through, let's just say there's an advertiser, and the advertiser and the agency say, yeah, we need to reach these audiences. Our objective is to create awareness for a new, whatever, car model or whatever it is, right? And this is our audience. And then we say, okay, let's look at the total universe of the content that we can make available via partners or directly, right? And then maybe there's a chunk that goes into some famous series or whatever. And then there's another one that will go into music. Why music? Because it is very appealing for certain audiences. Now here comes the difference is really that, again, from a model standpoint, we are in control of that, and we can set, you know, the pricing. I have to caution a little bit that statement in terms of the pricing cannot be set like in a fantasy world, because ultimately clients are paying, you know, cost per mil or cost per thousand, and so you cannot go crazy with that. However, what you can do is to give some level of first look of exclusivities and reserve, and you know, there are means to basically also get to a slightly higher pricing eventually. But it's all, you know, it's how the markets function. So there is a huge difference there. In terms of, you know, the dynamics. And then what we will do is to spread this across, you know, artists and available inventory that, you know, the artists or the record companies and so forth have opted in. And so from that standpoint, you know, if you went into the details of the process, it will be different, because, you know, you're dealing with record companies and with music artist agents and so forth, management companies, but the principle is actually identical. It's not really different. The one difference is then In addition to that is maybe the reporting and the measurement, which will, will come through us to the advertiser, but in principle, it's not really different. I think the biggest difference in terms of the music proposition as we are planning to take it to the market or taking it now is really compared to how it's being done today, which is a very, and I'm not saying it's bad, but basically it doesn't give that kind of flexibility in terms of spreading across a genre and having that kind of reach. And secondly, I think it is also from an artist standpoint, what we can do is just so much more flexible, so much more agile, and so much more elegant in terms of, we are not putting an object into the hand of a singer who actually should be having a microphone in the hand rather than a bottle of the product, you know what I mean? So we place that, we have so many more opportunities and possibilities to do things. So we believe that's, and actually that's also the feedback that we're getting from the industry, that we're just superior from that standpoint, like by light years. I hope I answered the question a little bit with some additional color.
Yeah, you did. Thank you very much, Stephan. And we have one last question, which asks you to discuss the opportunity that there might be in gaming. And I think this is a really interesting question.
That's a very interesting one. So gaming as such, obviously, is a massive territory. We know that, but we have to be careful as to understanding, in what part of the gaming sector there could be an opportunity for us. And I'll be very honest, I haven't quite found this gap for us. I mean, we have been entertaining some conversations earlier this year with platform companies, but when you think about the gaming developers, like I don't know, Activision and the likes, they're basically controlling that themselves. In esports, equally. So it's a tough one. I can't really answer this question at the moment. There will be an opportunity eventually, and that's the interesting part, that gaming companies have asked us if we could partner and take their product, if you will, to market, because they've seen that we have now reach a very significant go-to-market power in terms of the relationships with advertisers and their agencies. So maybe there's a model there where we actually partner with companies and become sort of the sales enabler and channel.
Got it. Well, great. I really appreciate everyone who attended the call today. I believe that's the end of the Q&A here. Stephan, if you just want to close it out.
No, look, I mean, yeah, final last famous words. I think there was a Supertramp album. I think we are, we've made enormous progress, keeping in mind we had a strategic shift we had to make last year. Progress is enormous. We've been delayed 4, if not more, months by the pandemic. All fingers crossed that nothing too dramatic comes back. But if we stay on that pace, if I just say, it's like a little bit more than 8 months, and we continue on that track, we will be winning big time. And as I said earlier, we're very close now to getting the first signing in the US, and from then on, hopefully, things will start skyrocketing. So yeah, and I think. Also the opening in the US market and really now looking west, we've been very UK centric and now dedicated fully to the United States, I think will make a huge difference as well.
Very well, I appreciate everyone being on the call today. Thank you again, Mirriad team, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care, bye.